Hello, I am Bentham and welcome back to Factorio. So we have built our first train, but it's no use here. We should deconstruct it and take it somewhere else where we can actually build a train system. So the first place that we're going to go to is oil. We want to get a train running between oil and the main outpost because they're just a little bit too far away to transport by conveyor belt, really. I didn't want to send the sulfur all the way over there, and I'm not happy about the plastic being all the way over there, as like having to go along that line as well. So I have a look around on the map and sort of work out a route, and it's a bit difficult really because it's sort of a fiddly positioning and there's stuff in the way, but I'll work it out. So we started setting up a train loop, and then I realised pretty quickly that I'm not going to be able to do it that way around, so I have a quick look around and decide to do it the other way around eventually. So I plonk back down the rails and flip it around so it goes that way, like round, and hopefully that will be enough space. And I start sorting out the loop, and the problem with this is that you have to sort of make the loop once and then deconstruct it because you have to work out where they meet. And I realised after doing that it's not going to leave me enough room to like expand my oil refining at all if I want to, before I make any changes to the rail system. So I opt for a more compact version of the usual rail loop, and that gives me enough space to breathe over there when we come to do some expansion. So we stick down a station and then our train, put some coal in it just to get it going, and then we can work out where it will be positioned when it stops at the station, and then I can connect up the two inserters that will be feeding it because there will be two different materials going into this train. One of them is sulfur and the other is plastics. So these will both be transported to the main outpost, where they can be crafted into either sulfuric acid or into advanced circuits depending on what they are. And it means that we wanted to have these big belts going all over the place, which is a pain, and it's sort of the opposite of what this series is supposed to be about. So I get the sulfur hooked up, and then I have to work out to get the plastic hooked up. And then you can see that I'm setting filters in the cargo wagon, 5 squares for sulfur and then 5 squares for plastic, and then the rest is free for other stuff in future or whatever. And that will mean that we never have any problem where it gets clogged with only sulfur or whatever and we can't fit any more plastic in or something like that. And if you're ever transporting two different types of thing in a train, unless you've got very well controlled production and consumption of it, you want to make sure that there are filters in the cargo wagon to make sure that you won't have any problems there. Get a bit of science done. We get a lot of random bits of science done today. It just keeps coming. Because there's sort of nothing in particular that I'm trying to research at the moment. Well, I go for the electronic stuff and like substations and things like that, but I think that might require blue science. But that sort of thing, like accumulators and things like that. So with the loop set up and the feeding into the train set up, it's time to actually take the train back home. And unfortunately, we have to take a bit of an awkward route to get there because basically we had 3 options. One of them involved going outside of the defensive walls that I've been building and looping around the lake. One involved going through copper, which I don't want to because I want to mine that first before I send something through. And then the other was coal, and I don't think I'll be mining coal too quickly, so I just decided to let the track go straight through the middle of the coal deposit. And hopefully by the time we need the coal that's there, we will have got rid of the copper and like sent the train through there instead, or something along those lines. So now I just need to connect things up. I get the track clear of the copper before I start turning towards the corner, and I've got it skirting around the steam engines, with enough gap for me to walk along between the tracks and the engines. Otherwise I'll get myself run over about 1,000,000 times in the next few episodes as I get used to the train running along there. So just sort of working out how to get it to just dodge all of these various bits of stuff that are in the way, because there's all sorts of things here. There's lakes and deposits and like facilities that I've built. They're all blocking the straight line path for the train, but I eventually managed to dodge my way around them all and stick the tracks in. And then we just have to sort of work out how to construct this loop at the other end, because this is where we're going to be unloading next to the stone mining area. So I started sorting out the loop, and I decided to sort of make it a bit neater and so on by having it sort of join, well, not be one of the conventional loops, but be sort of more organic and sense making. So we get that connected up, and now we just need to actually sort out the stations and get the train going there. We get some more research done in the meantime. I've got the station plonked down. I have to go and retrieve the train so that I can get it to, so I can program in the cycle that it will go for. So it just goes between the two stations, stopping at each one for 10 seconds, allowing enough time for a little bit of unloading. We probably won't be using like sulfur and plastics very heavily at any point, really. Actually, plastics eventually does get consumed very quickly, but it's going to be a very long time before that happens. So we just need to be running at a decent rate and occasionally providing some plastic to replenish the system for now. So I can now get rid of the old conveyor belt line that was there, because we've got the plastic coming through on this belt now, which is lovely. So I decided to stick in a chest as well, and have buffer chests at this end of the system, just to make sure that there's a decent supply and so on, and if the train goes missing for whatever reason, then there's still some supply left. And then I can plonk down some extra, well, I suppose they're not extra, they're required inserters to send the materials onwards in their journey. So I have the sulfur going just alongside the plastics. We get some more research done. It's really going fast. Have it just hop underneath that, a bit of that evening out section there, and then we just need to keep it going until wherever we decide to put our sulfuric acid production. And I decided to put it just outside of the rest of the production area. And the thing is, my original plan was to just have sulfuric acid piped in, but I sort of didn't think enough about how it would affect things by having the oil outpost as far away as it is. I mean, it's not that far, and you can transport by belt, but this is supposed to be a train series, so if trains are a good solution, then I'll use them. So we get the chemical plant connected up, and it gets supplied by some iron as well as the sulfur, and then also a water pipe. I've actually forgotten that it required water, but it just so happened I positioned it perfectly, so an underground belt and a water pump would solve the problem nicely. So sulfuric acid is being produced now, and it's going into a big tank there and storing up, and we can go and get on with some other stuff while that's carrying on. And what I go and get on with is sorting out the coal, because while I was spending all this time on the train system, all of the furnaces ran out of, well, not all of them, they'd started running out of coal, and I just have to run around and quickly fix that, resupply everything, make sure that's all fine, and then add some more to the supply chest for coal, and that'll keep things going a bit longer. Also, I've collected a bit more wood after clearing out the area for the train loop at the other end, so I decided to set up a chest dedicated to wood, which always happens usually. I usually end up with 2 of them, because I usually mine trees rather than just like shotgun them or whatever, even when it makes a lot more sense to. So I hop on the train and follow it in its cycle, which it's now running on, just to make sure that everything's going fine. And at the other end, I realise that I've missed something out. I haven't done a buffer chest at this end, and that's quite important, because really you need buffer chests at both ends so that the loading and unloading is at a much higher speed, because an inserter can transport between two containers a lot quicker than it can between a belt and a container or something like that, once you've got the researches done that increase the inserter item stack size thing. So if I have the buffer chest, it means that things are being loaded currently 3 at a time, and later on it'll get up to, I think, 5 at a time. And now they're being unloaded at 3 at a time as well, so that much more capacity for the transportation of sulfur after doing that, which is good. I have a quick watch of how it unloads, and I see that it does run out, but that's probably because I didn't quite get the system fully functional before the train turned up again. Anyway, after it arrives and unloads again, I decided to leave it be, because it looks like it's running fast enough, and we can get on with other things now, and the sulfuric acid will build up nicely and eventually fill that tank that we've got there. So anyway, looking over the sign system, which I haven't looked at for a while now, I find that there's actually quite a bit of backing up with red and green science, so it seems like a good idea to expand our science lab area, add on another couple, so we've now got 10 science labs working, which is nice. Though we'll soon start researching the lab speed thing, which means that we probably won't be expanding for a while longer. Once we've like doubled or quadrupled or whatever the speed that the labs are going, we'll need to increase the production of science before we add any more labs in. Anyway, I run along and resupply with various different things, gears and circuits and stuff, and it's nice to see that everything's building up properly now. I'm not sure what happened while I was gone, but basically everything's backing up a ton now, which is great. So there's no expansion that needs to be done right now on the lines that I've got, unless I want to increase the red and green science rate. But before I do that, I would want to start adding in blue science and get that set up and going and everything. So anyway, after I finished supplying on the various different materials, and I also resupplied an advanced circuits just for the sake of it, allows more to be produced, to fill up the belt again and things like that. We can go on and have a look at other things, just sort of looking around and seeing that it's all running great now. So I suppose we'll start working on our next bit of production, and that will be batteries. And batteries require copper, iron, and sulfuric acid. So we need to transport the sulfuric acid to the location where we'll be making batteries. And for that we'll need some underground belts. And I did intentionally leave a gap between the central trunk of this production tree, so that I could pipe chemicals between the areas. So these are sort of, it's a bit like putting in more conveyor belt stuff. I mean, what I could do really is have underground belts used on the main trunk, and then where the underground belts occur is an interval to fit in underground pipes. But anyway, we've had an attack, and it's quite a bad one. You can see there's a bunch of stuff being destroyed on the alarm. We've got 10 different things being destroyed, and after running around I kill all the biters. There wasn't that many of them, but they did a lot of damage, and it's not good. Basically the whole iron production system is shut down. The coal chest that supplied them has been annihilated, so all the coal in there is gone, and we're going to have to refill that, and all sorts of bits of mess everywhere. So I start working on getting everything working again, getting all the conveyor belts back in. I have to get some repairing done on some bits that were damaged but not destroyed, and then connect up all the bits again. We lost a bit of track as well. I had to stick that in and so the train could carry on. The train didn't take any damage though, and we also lost the electricity pylon that was connecting the power generation to production, but I think that it was connected in another way anyway, so the power continued to go. I'm not sure though, to be honest, so maybe power did shut down for a while, but it's all fine now. And to make sure it's less likely to happen again, I start sticking in some new defensive walls, the next one along from the last one that I did. So I'm not sure what direction the biters came from, but I think it was from the south, because if they'd come from the north they probably would have gone for the steam engines first, rather than running straight past and going for the iron production. That's what I'm going to assume. So I build the wall in the south first, and hopefully if any more come they have to deal with that before they can get at any of my production. If it turns out they come from the north, then I haven't really done much to help by putting this wall in, but it'll help other things in the long term, I suppose. I end up running out of ammo and have to craft a bunch more, and it does take a little bit of time to craft ammo. I mean, it's not much for an individual clip, but if you want to have, I mean, I usually deal with clips in 5s and 10s and things like that, so it does take a while to craft that many. So I've got that going in my crafting bar for the next few minutes now, and I occasionally have to cancel a bunch of crafts to make so that other crafts get done and I can carry on getting on with my work and sort of reconnecting everything up, because there are a couple of bits that I miss with the iron production that I add to later on, like an inserter that was missing and a conveyor belt that was missing. Anyway, luckily there's a bunch of coal available right now, so we can use that to resupply the chest, and won't have any problems with the coal supply anytime soon. Running around and sticking it all in the smelters as well, the furnaces as well, while I'm going. And there's still a fair bit left in my inventory as well, so I can stick even more of that in the supply chest. And I also decide to upgrade the production of stone bricks to full pelt, because it's clear that we need to start setting up some defences now, so we're going to have to start working more on getting the walls ready, and I decide to have that crafted for me rather than do it myself out of the stone bricks, because it takes, I think, 5 stone bricks to make a wall, and I always sort of I don't realise that it actually takes a lot of bricks to make one wall, and I end up not bringing enough bricks to make them. So if I get the walls made in an assembler, I'll be less likely to mess up in that sense. Anyway, I'm now running around and sticking some guns around the place just as a little bit of defence for future, because the biters weren't very strong, and the only reason they caused so much havoc that they did was because there was no resistance. So if I add in a couple of guns, that will quickly fix that, and any future attacks will be resisted against, rather than that'll help reduce the effect of that and give me more time to turn up and kill them before really bad things happen. So anyway, after inspecting the belt a bit, I decide to upgrade the steel production. At the moment it's backed up totally fine, but at some point soon it's going to start increasing. And also I keep taking stuff off the line, so I just add a couple more. Well, I just upgrade the furnaces that we've got to keep that going nicely. And then back to battery production after that rude interruption. And I decided to stick in 2 chemical plants just to make sure that I mean, I don't really need them, but it's sort of to prove that my system is scalable, because it's a little bit of a fiddly one when you have, well, when I do battery production, because the pipes go in a similar location to where the batteries come out, and it's a bit cramped, and you have to space the chemical plants out a bit to make enough room for it. So we need iron and copper for that, so I just get that hooked up, and it's pretty easy. Get those connected, and then with the sulfuric acid going in, once I've got the pipes fully set up, the batteries will go onto that line and down on into the main trunk of production. So I just get all these pipes set up. I accidentally rotate the chemical plant for making sulfuric acid, which makes me panic because I don't want to accidentally mix sulfuric acid with water or anything like that and end up having to destroy and reconstruct pipes. So anyway, I get them connected up and battery production sets off, so that's good. And at the moment we don't have any use for it, but we will do soon enough. We just had to sort out battery production first. And then I run off to catch the train, and I find out that it's not there. And there's no sulfuric acid. Well, no sulfur. The sulfuric acid is nice and stored in a tank. So anyway, after the train doesn't turn up after waiting for a while, I wander over to find out what's happened, and it's run out of fuel. And I realise I forgot to sort out fuel loading for the train. So I just quickly dump what coal I have in my inventory in it, and then make my way back over to the main base to sort out the problem. And on my way there, I get rid of this old conveyor belt for transporting plastic, because we don't need it anymore, and it's messy and horrible. And we can just get rid of it now because we have trains, and trains are better. So we get rid of that, and then it's time to sort out the coal loading. So we plonk down an inserter, and we plonk down a chest, and we have to run over and get some coal because we already dumped all the stuff that we had into the train. So just doing a bit of science as well. I'm sort of running out of things to research at this point. I decided to upgrade my guns because I'll probably need to do that soon enough. Oh, well, they'll need to be upgraded soon enough to deal with the oncoming biters. So anyway, make my way back and stick some coal in that chest, and that'll keep the train fueled for a bit, though I will need to stick some more in when more is produced by the mining drills. At the moment I've basically taken all of the coal that they had, and I also refuel all the furnaces, which actually means I have quite a low amount of coal, but there's no urgent requirement now because I've just resupplied everything. So I just set up a new mining drill for iron, and the reason is that I just upgraded steel production by adding in some better furnaces, so of course less because the steel production is taking up more ore, the iron production has less ore to take up, so I just added in another mining drill to help even that out. And then I can go and inspect the belt again, and again everything's backed up really nicely, and look at the lovely colours. There's green and red and silver and orange, and it actually looks really nice, and I'm quite happy with that. And everything's lovely and backed up, so there's plenty of room for expansion and so on. So I suppose we'll work on the next bit of production, and that is blue science, the third and the most complicated bit of science to produce. It requires 4 different items, that is steel, batteries, which of course we just set up, advanced circuits, and smart inserters. Now we already have 3 of those sorted, but smart inserters is a bit fiddly, and we'll have to set that up later on. But the first thing that I do is sort out the supply of steel and batteries, seeing as they are right there for the taking. So I get the steel going in, and then get some underground belts sorted, and get them work out how I'm going to deliver the batteries, and so on, just to be nicely positioned and things like that. And the thing is, there are 2 uses for batteries, and I want to make sure that I allow the batteries to go both ways. So I set up a splitter sending the batteries off in a different direction as well, and it sort of replaces the outer copper line that isn't there, of course, because it goes into circuit production. So it works quite well, really. And that's sort of why I left those open, the iron and the copper outer lines, and left a gap there, just in case there's anything else I need to put in them, and it turns out that I have something else, which is batteries. I don't know if there's anything else later on, but I suppose we'll find out when the time comes. So anyway, now I just hook up the line for delivering blue science to the rest of the science labs, but that's a bit preemptive really, because at the moment we only have 2 of the necessary materials for blue science, so I start working on the third, which is advanced circuits, and that's easy enough because we've got them being produced and put onto the center line already, so I just have to get those hooked up, and now all we have to do is sort out smart inserters. So I set up the assembler for that, but it's a fairly complicated process really, and so we're going to have to work on it next episode because we don't have any time now in this one. So I just plunk some turrets down around just to make sure that everything's nice and well defended. And that's it for today, so I shall say goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.